Okay, so that question, asks about a very sort of new era of music making, right? We're talking about Spotify, we're talking about social media and new media technologies, and that really applies to about the last 20 years of music making in the world, right? A little bit more than 20 years, perhaps. In the West. We can definitely say that social media and new media changed the way in which music could be made and spread. And this certainly affected the volumes of music that were made by underground musicians, both in Iran and the rest of the Middle East, in getting their music out there. But that's not to say that, this couldn't be done prior to new media. So prior to new media, small media still existed. What we mean by small media is, not the big media such as state television, satellite television, and so on, but cassette tapes. Cassette tapes were small media. These were tapes that anybody could record and spread quite easily. In fact, the Iranian Revolution of 1979 owes a great debt to this very small medium of the cassette tape, whereby Khomeini's sermons were copied on hundreds of cassette tapes from his seat in France, Neuf-le-Château in France, and brought into, sort of recorded over the telephone onto tapes in Iran and then multiplied there and spread among the population. So prior to new media, we had that, and musicians would record and spread at great risk to their own personal safety and security in most of these contexts. And certainly with new media, that risk still exists, but musicians have taken great advantage of the affordances of new media and things like Spotify to spread their music. I think it's worth saying that another thing that new media have facilitated is for the diaspora, because a lot of these Middle Eastern countries have huge diasporas because of the tumultuous decades which all of them have at this point experienced over the last 4 decades or more. There are huge diasporas of all of these countries around the world, in Europe and the US and further east in Asia. And so new media has also allowed them to partake in music making for dissent and protest in their home countries. They've been able to contribute to protest music within these countries.